Hello everyone and welcome back to Data Analytics with Power BI. Today we'll be focusing on the segment where we can see how we can model our case study data into a right form for better analysis. Now open the case study dataset on your machine with the Microsoft Excel. Then you head to copy the first column by selecting the first row, rather by selecting all the labels in each column, that is the headers of each column. Control C. Now you would open a new sheet by clicking the plus icon at the bottom section. Now to paste, you would want to left click and click as paste special, then transpose and hit OK. Now this will convert it from horizontal to vertical for you. Now in this case, you can now look at your data downward. I told us that a good data model has relationship. A good data that is collected, that is data that are collected for analysis, have different relationship between each other. Here we'll be looking at the different relationship that these data have in common. Now we'll be starting with the customers. The customers, for each customer, there's a customer ID, there's a customer name, and there's a segment. There's a segment that the customer falls into. So we are going to cut it. Now we'll select a new row and paste it. Sorry, we are going to select customer ID, customer name, Control X to cut. Then come here and I paste it. Now I would have a table that has a customer ID, a customer name, and the segment, so that I can reference a particular ID to the name and to the segment it belongs. The next thing we'll be looking at is the sales rep, the sales rep ID, the sales rep, the sales rep team, and the sales team manager. In this case, we'll cut it, then try to paste it as a new entity. With this now, if you have a table that has only this column, you can easily reference the sales rep, the sales team manager by the sales rep ID. That is one major advantage. Now we'll be moving into the table for card for location. For the locations now, you notice that we have the location ID, the city, the state, the postal code, and the region that the product is located. We'll cut it with Ctrl X on my keyboard. Then I come here. I would want to paste it here. That is, for each product now that has a city, a name, a city, a state, a postal code, or a region, I can reference them with a location ID. Now we go into the product. For each product, there is a category, there is a subcategory, and there is a name of the product. So what we'll do is we'll cut it, then we'll try to paste it into a new column here. Okay, we'll paste it into a new column. Control X on my keyboard. Then we'll paste it here. Now, what this is telling us is that from each product ID, we can determine the category, the subcategory, and the name of the product. Now, lastly, we want to see if we can build a fact table that can reference all the IDs. Now, in this case, what we are going to be doing is that we are going to be looking at each of these entities and we'll see how we can put them together. Take for instance, we know that for each I for each location there is a product, there is a discount, and there is a sales. For that, we'll put them in a particular column. Control X to cut it. Now we could put them here. We could want to put them together, and let us also check that for each order there is an order ID, there is an order date, there is a ship mode, a ship date, and a ship mode. Now, in this case, what we are looking at is we are trying to see how we can reference all these in a particular table. So now our fact table is going to contain the customer, the order ID of each of these our products, the order date, now the sales, the quantity, the discount, and the profit. Then we are going to pick the customer ID to reference it, the product ID, and the location ID for each of our products. We're going to copy that and then we'll try to paste them. We do a special paste, then we transpose that. Once we do a transpose, it will allow us to paste it. Now, with this grouping, we can now see how we have been able to segment all the various products in our shop or in our dataset. In subsequent video, we'll be reciproc we'll be doing this in Power Query and we'll see how we can now have these different tables in a particular worksheet. Thank you very much and see you in the next one.